Hello, this is Demon Phoenix with another Witcher 3 video, this time part 2 of my Death March guide and walkthrough. The first thing you want to do when you get to Velen is you come out here at the Hangman's Tree, and there's a few things that you can do a little bit out of order than you would normally in the game to make Death March a lot easier. This little part there you can cross by the castle, and you can actually go to Novigrad straight away, and you can also swim across to Oxenfurt as well. So the fact that you need a pass shouldn't stop you getting there. And the first thing I always do is go to the gate of the Hierarch marker here at this bridge that I've shown on the map at Novigrad. You can go to the establishment here which has a stash in it. Now this is really important because the stash at Crows Perch is really frustratingly far away from the actual marker, so if you go to that one then you always have a stash available. Next thing I like to do is if you got the Hearts of Stone expansion, you can get the Evil Soft First Touches mission, and you can follow that. It will take you to a notice board. Now if you follow to the notice board and take these signs, you can get a Hearts of Stone quest for the Rune Rite. Also here, the big sprawling estate on the right there is the Vegelbud estate, and the lake that's just to the west of that, I've just put a marker there for where you will find a Gwent merchant, and if you watch my Gwent early game guide, it shows you some fantastic cards you can buy from him. Now once you've got the Evil Soft First Touches mission, you can get that, follow to the notice board, and then you follow the Rune Rite quest and it will take you to Upper Mill. Just take Roach and ride her all the way past these. The enemies will be far too high level for you to be able to fight them, but that's not what we're doing. We just want to get to this guy who is a friendly Ofieri merchant, and he has some really good stuff that he can sell. So what we've actually got here is he can sell a set of saddlebags which you can only get in the Hearts of Stone expansion, which is the Ofieri Saddlebags. He does sell blinders as well, but I don't think they're really worth the money because blinders don't really often come into play. If you watch my Gwent guide, you can also buy the Gauntro Dim Darkness cards and see where you can get those. But the best thing about those saddlebags is they add 100 weight and they only cost 259 crowns, which isn't actually that much. So I would definitely recommend buying those, and it adds that big boost to your inventory weight, and it means you can sell any other saddlebags you get as well for a little bit of extra profit and get that money back. He also has a couple of quests associated with him. One of them is a high level Hearts of Stone quest, so you can ask about starting it to get the diagrams, but don't actually do it until you're ready to start Hearts of Stone properly in about 30 levels time. The other quest that you can get is you can admire what a nice horse he's got, and then you can race him on Roach. You can win this even with the default starting saddle, it's not a problem at all, and it's a pretty easy race to win. You just block him off and make sure that when your stamina's regenerating you just block him off so he can't get past you, and you win an Ofieri saddle, which will be the best saddle you can get until Blood and Wine, which is like much later in the game. So that's a really good thing, and that's an 85 stamina saddle. Next you can go to Novigrad, and again, even though it's not the recommended order for the game, you don't have to do the quests, you can just explore in Novigrad, and there's a lot of good stuff there to get you started. So one of the things we can do here is you can speak to the armourer, who is just on the smaller courtyard south of Novigrad Square, and he gives the best prices in the game early on for any weapons. So when you're looting swords and things from bandits, or when you clear out any bandit camps and things like that, you'll get a lot of junk swords. Now you can dismantle them, but the components that you get, like leather straps and iron ingots and steel ingots, most of the time it's actually better to get those from dismantling junk materials, because it costs less to dismantle the junk materials than it does the swords. So if you sell the swords to this guy, he has a lot of money, he'll be able to buy them from you, and even though they're not at particularly high prices, when you sell them all, it all adds up. So you can see here, even though I'm level 3, before we've even started doing anything in Velen, I've already got well over 1,000 crowns. You also seem to pick up a lot of the lesser Triglav rune stones in the game. I find I get quite a few of those. Here I've already got 7, and you can sell those to either this guy or the armourers in Oxenfurt or Novigrad, and they sell for 102 a piece, so you can always sell a couple of those, because you're never going to be able to use all of those in your swords anyway. You only ever really carry the Viper swords, and I recommend you keep those unless you get a particularly good relic sword drop up until the Griffin swords are available. Now here you can see on the map I'm at the Novigrad Square, and this is like a central hub for the game for me. I come here straight away, don't even do Trish's mission, which is off this square because that's recommended level 10, but you can do a few things here. So first of all, you can speak to Vimy Vivaldi and you can win the Vesemir card from him, but he can also give you a loan. Now he only ever gives you 100 crowns at a time, but there's no penalty for not paying it back. You only ever have to pay it back at 130 crowns. So right now 100 crowns is quite a lot, so you should take the loan and then you can just repay it right near the end of the game, or never repay it at all. and that's like basically a free 100 crowns, and when you pay it back, 130 is virtually nothing later in the game, but it's quite a lot now. So whilst we're trying to save up for the Temerian armour, we'll do that. You can see here I've picked up lots of orens and florins from White Orchard, and again, this is before I've even done anything in Velen, but you can come to Novigrad before you start the Velen missions and exchange those as well. And here you can see I get 650 crowns, which is a massive chunk of change early in the game. The money matters a lot more now than it will later, because later you'll find that you have a lot of money, and I'll be doing a making money video to follow up and show you how to do that anyway. This is the armourer on the Novigrad square, and he is really useful because he buys armour at the highest rate early in the game. He also buys non-sword weapons for slightly higher than the blacksmith does. So the blacksmith gives higher prices for swords, but axes and clubs and things like that, the armourer is actually give very marginally more, but it's not really a big deal. Again, if you have any spare lesser triglav runestones, you can sell them to him as well. In my making money video, I'll cover a couple of other things. You can sell books to a merchant and the bookstore merchant on here, and there's also an alchemist. Now lastly, you can buy a couple of maps to start Witcher gear hunts, but you won't need those until later, so you can buy them now if you've got the crowns, but don't necessarily worry about it if you don't. I would strongly recommend spending about half an hour or an hour or two, if you can be bothered, going around Novigrad, preferably at night when there are less guards, and looting some things. Again, I'll cover this in the making money video, but you can see here that whilst looting random things here on the edge of the river, I actually get a Divana runestone, which instead of a lesser Divana runestone gives a 2% bleeding chance, and Divana runestone gives a 3% bleeding chance, and they're what I recommend putting in your Viper swords. They're especially useful for fighting enemies that are higher level, and if you're trying to go to Skellige early. Again, this is exploring Crows Perch, and my last two playthroughs I've got a Divana runestone in this hut, so I don't know if it's a fixed drop or if I've just been a bit lucky, but it's definitely worth checking out. This is the hut at the bottom of the hill, so definitely loot that in Crows Perch. When you've done a few of these things and you've got a bit of money from selling the swords and things that you picked up in White Orchard and selling any extra gear, you should have enough to go back to White Orchard and speak to Bram and buy the Temerian armour set. Now if you want to use a light armour set, this is by far the best one in the game at this time. You can get it at level 4, which you should be after you finished Vizima and come back to White Orchard. So you can buy this armour set, and in my recommended builds for this level I'm going to use it. I do keep the medium armour set as well though, including the warrior's leather jacket, so that if you have any fights where you want to switch back to having Quen available with the Griffin School techniques more often because of the stamina regeneration, you can do. But what I recommend here is that you use an ability point to get the Cat School techniques, which with the 4 pieces of light armour increases your fast attack damage by 20%, which is a pretty big deal early in the game. And because we've already got Griffin School techniques, you can switch back to that at any time. Here you see I'm just stood by a place of power in Velen, and this is the next thing we need to do. There are 6 places of power, and each of them grants an ability point. And then there is a 7th one, which you get through Kira's quest. This one here near the Allness message board is very easy to get, so you can get that first. There is the one that I was showing here, which is by a high level wyvern, well, level 11 wyvern, which you can get. And then there's this one. You don't have to fight the wyvern on the last one, by the way. You can just get the power, place power, and come back. Now this one near the Dragon's Grotto marker is at the top of a hill. So you find this marker, this area on the map, and make sure you come at it from the left side, not the right side of the map, because there's a lesson there. This one's similar, by the Ancient Oak. It's an Igni place of power, and it's guarded by a werewolf. Now the werewolf's level 4, and you can beat it, but you might want to come at that from the south so you don't have to fight the werewolf. I would recommend saving trying to beat the werewolf first. This one down south is virtually unguarded. There is a high level gargoyle, but that's not next to it, so you can avoid that. And this area of the map here is the one where you get with Kira. So if you see a question mark there, that's one that you can't get until you do Kira's mission, Wandering in the Dark. So you'll get that later anyway. Make sure you explore thoroughly. And the last one is that one that I'm stood up by the top of Novigrad. If you get the Novigrad message notice boards, you'll be able to see that. Now, if you go right to the top, you'll see that there were 6 places of power there, and you get all of those. This is an opportune time to go for Skellige if you want to do that. There's a separate mission and video that I've done for showing how you get to Skellige early, so you can watch that. It's better if you have Delusion or Exploding Shield to do that. So the setup we have is a Divana runestone in each of the Viper swords and the Temerian armour. We also have the Ofieri Saddlebags and the Ofieri Saddle. We can get the Zerrikanian blinders, which are 60. From going to Skellige early, or if not, you can just get normal blindings by doing the Crows Perch races. The Ofieri Saddlebags really help. We've got Thunderbolt, Swallow and Tawny Owl, and we use those judiciously, and you should have plenty of alcohol from looting crates in Novigrad if you've done that, to be able to replenish your alcohol whenever you want. We've also got the cat school techniques, and we've still got griffin school techniques because, like I say, that's recommended for me. I always say get that one with the medium armor gear, so you can switch between and switch back to griffin school techniques when you get better medium armor at level 10 and 11, which we'll cover in the next video. Delusion is an excellent shout. I actually didn't mention that in the last video, but I would always say get Delusion or Exploding Shield if you want a science ability, and they're very useful. So you can get one of those. Excellent other abilities are, if you go in alchemy, you can get poison blades, which again I highly recommend, and acquired tolerance, and those will unlock the protective coating skill as well. Or you can go with muscle memory or strength training, depending on if you want to go for a fast or a strong attack build. And I'll be showing a couple of the combinations, and you can have a feel now for how you really like the builds, and you can make sure that you tailor the build to how you want. I'm going to give a couple of options here, so based on how you're liking to play, you can either go with the medium set, whichever you've got best. I've picked up a couple of medium gears there, or you can go with the Temerian set. So like I say, we've got the Temerian set and the Ofieri horse gear, which is really good. Now this is what I would actually recommend, and this is what I'll be using for the most part, but you can go with a couple of the other options if you want. I managed to beat that werewolf near the Igni place of power, and it gets you a +5 attack mutagen, so you can use that with the muscle memory to increase 5 points in that to increase your damage, and poison blade so that you can poison higher level enemies and then back off, let your Quen and stamina regenerate. So we've got the cat school techniques, and the next thing I'll be getting is acquired tolerance when the next skill slot becomes available, and that lets you use more potions or even use a decoction like the foglit decoction to boost your stamina, your sign intensity, and then potions on top of that. And then at level 10 you get another slot, and we'll be able to unlock those, and we'll cover those in a later video. This is the pure combat version if you like just hack and slash instead. The Temerian armor is brilliant for this, as it has the good resistances and is light armor, so it boosts it with cat school techniques. So we've got cat school techniques, muscle memory and strength training, so we can deal good damage to any enemy types, and this would focus more on dodging. And then when you get to level 6 you might want to get either the poison blades or acquired tolerance, depending on if you want to go with more potions or if you want to go all out attacking. Or again, you could have Exploding Shield or Delusion, and those will boost your stamina regeneration a little bit, which is also very useful. Exploding Shield with this is a good combination, and like I say, so is Delusion, and again the attack power mutagen there. So when you've got this set up, you can see that your damage is a little bit higher because you've got those skills that are boosting the werewolf mutagen. You can use a normal lesser red mutagen if you're able to get that as well. So we don't have any sign intensity, but we have reasonable stamina regeneration there as well. It's a very good attacking setup if you prefer that. If you want to keep it more science focused, you can either use the Temerian set for a bit more balance, so that gives the attack and the skills give a bit more of sign intensity, or you can have the medium set and use Quen as your defense and have higher stamina regeneration and go pure signs. You notice I had a greater blue mutagen. If you can find neckers, you can pick up a lot of lesser blue mutagens. You combine 3 of those into a blue mutagen and then 3 blue mutagens into a greater. So here we have higher sign intensity than with the no skills build for science. And if you had the Griffin School techniques means your stamina regeneration would be even higher. I would recommend next doing the Baron quest and Kira's Wandering in the Dark, and that's a good place to start, and you get quite a few alchemy recipes. When you're clearing out undiscovered locations, we'll cover this in a later video, but don't forget about bombs. They're extremely useful when fighting groups of enemies, and because we don't have the deflection skill, make sure you prioritise archers. The next video will cover up until level 11, so I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time for the next part. Thank you.